no witty repartee to begin today. I guess it's too early and too cold.
It is a little cold. Folks out east not used to the snow stuff.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of snow.
Snowmageddon, 3 to 4 inches in some parts of this country, people would laugh at. But for Eastern North Carolina, 3 to 4 inches is a
That's
significant snow
that's
event.
shutting things down. Yeah.
It is. They're just the infrastructure isn't here to support it. The plows and the
Some
culture.
somehow I ended up on a text thread with Jerry Rader talking with a bunch of people at Camp Lejeune about closures and stuff. Like it was all like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, like all this stuff. And then he reached out, he was like, I'm sorry, you were on a work thread and I don't know how you got there. It's like, that's fine.
That's that is that is interesting. Yeah, but yeah, school's out. What did it snow Tuesday night, I think here, and then
Yep.
yes, the rest of the week. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, too hard to figure out dealing with the roads and like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's cold here. I think it's about 17 degrees in the morning. So, and fun fact, when we had the 3 day weekend, and so Tuesday was my first day back at school, and I walked into my room, and I have two doors, both to the outside, one on one side of the room, one on the other. I walked in the back door, and the front door was standing wide open. And my room was the same temperature as it was outside, which was 19 degrees. And the boiler wasn't working. so
That's awesome.
so it was the same outside as inside all day long, which was not pleasant, but somehow the door blew open sometime over the 3 day weekend. And it had been open for, at least a day or so. So
Only slightly colder than the dining hall at Camp Greer, perhaps. Your classroom.
yes. Yeah, if we want to tie it back to Coach Retreat, yeah. Um yep, yep.
Well, it,
It
it
was
was chilly. There was still snow on the ground. Riding still happened.
yeah,
We survived.
we did.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of briefly kind of talk about where we're at, state of the league. We have 52 teams as of today. We've got 448 coaches, and we've got 808 riders, and that's kind of our expected. That's where we've been for the past few years, and we are actively seeking ideas on how to get beyond that. I think so that I know that's been one of your missions and one of the things that you are kind of constantly asking about and thinking about and talking about. And then I think really impressively, right here in the end of January, we've got almost 1,500 TTC hours put in by student athletes and coaches throughout the league, working on trails in North Carolina, which is really great. I know last year our goal was 2,000, and then it was 3,000, and we ended up with 4,000. So I think if we could set a precedent that we do between 3 and 4,000 hours of trail work per year as part of what our organization is about, I think that's huge. Especially the impact that has across the state.
We've obviously proved we can do that. 4,000 plus hours last season. We're putting a stretch goal 6,000 this season. I think easily achievable by us. And yeah, I think I was having that conversation with someone at Coach Retreat, Shawn, about the power of trail work when with the community about going somewhere new, a new venue for the league, or hey, it's a really good idea to start a team here, a NICA team in your community because they will do trail maintenance. They will help you with your trails, and it's a good, powerful message for sure. And plenty of work to be done out west, as you're well aware, living that part of the state as well.
Yeah, some trails are open. You and Kathy and myself and Golden, we rode a trail the Sunday after Coach Retreat out in Wilson's Creek, and that trail was, you could see evidence of all the clearing that had been done by the National Forest volunteer crews that have been out there, but there are still trails out there that they're not clear. So I think it is an ongoing need. And even in the best of times, trails need work. But with all of the damage that we've had, there will be need for trail work. And I imagine now in Eastern North Carolina, with all of the snow, there are some issues that come with that too that are going to require some trail maintenance.
Certainly. And Kath and I are still talking about one of the highlights of our weekend was the ride with you and Golden. But to tie it back to Coach Retreat, which was talking about adventure ride planning and the idea and what you encourage the coaches to do, Shawn, was, hey, you want to go to a new area, reach out to a team that's in that area and get all the scoop, get all the, hey, this trail's like this, and here's your EAP and all that. And that made that ride so enjoyable. One, beautiful Wilson Creek, that gorge beautiful, but we were with people that knew it. And so didn't have to think much about it. Just, follow Shawn, follow Golden, we'll be okay. We'll try and keep up. But, it was super enjoyable because, new place. We would have spent, every 5 minutes looking at our trail map or whatever, like, are we on the right track? And where's the trailhead? It was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's definitely the benefit of local knowledge. And I think, one of the things that we encouraged teams whenever we were at Coach Retreat, and something that I'll continue to encourage teams to do is, host a multi-team adventure ride. Get some teams that aren't familiar with your area and, partner with their teams and kind of do a joint thing where you have the knowledge to share, and then hopefully they reciprocate and you can have this like nice kind of back and forth of riding new places with people who know where they're going and what they're doing, and really can kind of suggest the best rides for what you're trying to accomplish. I think that's the best way to do it. And I think to kind of continue talking a little bit about our reflections on Coach Retreat, I think that was, one of the best things was having teams represented and talking and sharing those ideas. And that really for me is the best part of any Coach Retreat is the kind of downtime conversations that you have. We were presenting a lot of things, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think anytime you get more people in a room or in an area that are doing the same thing as you, they have a different perspective and different ideas, and you kind of feed off of that and you gain things that you want to try with your own teams. So I really encourage like that kind of cross pollination of ideas with other teams.
I absolutely agree with the value of an in-person coach retreat. There's only so much you can do via Zoom and the modern information technology, and I call it, Sean, the space between. Not only is it a great Dave Matthews Band song, but it describes like in the margins of the formal structure and plan of the weekend, just coaches getting together, sharing ideas, even in the midst of a ride. Hey, we do it this way, you do it that way. That was good, and that's I absolutely agree with you, Sean. That's a big value of coming together at least once a year across the league to share those ideas.
And some of the things we talked about at the Coach Retreat that I think bear mentioning here, we talked a little bit about this idea that was presented at the NICA National Conference, which was squaring the pyramid, which is a different way of looking at youth sports. And it really kind of the current model of youth sports is a pyramid where down at the bottom is sort of the entry point of youth sports. Think little league, think pee wee football, think youth soccer, and this automatically kind of cuts some kids out, kids with disabilities, kids who are not considered athletic. And so it's as you go up each tier, there's less and less participation by design. Like you have to try out for your high school team. You if you don't make it, you get cut and you don't get to participate. If you're on your high school team and the next place to go is college, if you don't make your college team, you're done. And so then if you're college, like really, if you want to continue, the next place to be is pro. And if you don't make that cut, you're out. And the pyramid gets really pointy at the top. There's very few people who are professionals in any sport. But when you square the pyramid, like I think this really is sort of how our organization is built. And that is the bottom, we're looking at just this core physical competency, like having basic physical skills. And I think NICA is really designed around this idea of taking someone who's never mountain biked and giving them those core competencies to become a confident and capable mountain biker. And then from there, above that lowest level, which we still are not capturing everyone, but we can capture a lot more of the kids that are not typically being funneled into youth sports pyramids. And they then have the ability to continue on at a recreational level, which most mountain bikers are, or they can continue on at a competitive level, which a lot of mountain bikers do. And then there's still room for the elite. And the nice thing is that there's not that place where, as an elite, you are like no longer really capable of participating as an elite rider. You kind of fall back into that kind of recreational category. Like that's kind of the cool thing you see with uh ex-professional cyclists is they still ride for the most part. They still are getting out there and enjoying the sport that they made a living at. And I think that's sort of the way we want to really think about what it is we're trying to do. And I think this idea of the core competency, I really want our coaches to kind of focus on that, getting those core competencies across. And you're going to hear us talk more about that language. The other thing that we did that I was really excited about was this idea of standards and not rules. And this came from a talk that John O'Sullivan gave at the NICA National Conference and his book, The Champion Teammate. And I was reading through that book on my plane flight home, and this chapter on standards, not rules, just jumped out at me. And I immediately just started writing notes about how I wanted to do that as a part of the coach retreat. And it's interesting because he says that rules are punitive by nature. They are, follow me or else. And, the natural kind of teenage inclination is to push the boundary until the or else part kind of comes in. But a standard, he says, is something to aspire to. It's something to strive for. And the nice thing about standards is that everyone can hold everybody else accountable. So, your teammates can go, hey, you're not meeting our standard. Or they can say, like, are you meeting the standard? Like they can pose that as a question. And so what we did at the coach retreat and what we did on the most recent coach call was I gave 3 standards, and they were be prepared, be present, and be polite. And then I asked coaches to go through the rule book and start to put down what rules in the handbook, the new 2025 handbook, goes with the standard. And then at the end of that, we came back together and they had made a really nice list. But one of the things that they said was, you tricked us into reading the handbook. And that was exactly part of it, because so many times as chief referee, when I approach someone about a rule that they are breaking, the first thing they tell me is, I didn't know that was a rule. Even though everybody in NCICL has signed saying they've read, understood, and will abide by the handbook, very few people are actually reading that handbook. And I understand it's a handbook, but it does set parameters for what we're supposed to do. And I think that's activity. And then the coach even said, I'm doing this tomorrow for our indoor practice. And I think that's a great thing. Like, really kind of lay it out there for your student athletes. Here's the standards. Go through the handbook. What rules go with these standards? Let them have ownership and understanding of what those things are. And then when you talk to them about things, like if they come in and they're wearing earbuds, you can say, are you being present? Or their teammates can say, are you being present? Or a parent can say, are you being present? And that really, really helps. And I think you've stressed this idea of being the cheese, like as the Swiss cheese, like don't be aligning your hole with the previous hole so that the thing gets all the way through and there has to be some consequence. Like, be the one to stop that. And I think if we can move from rules to standards, we kind of even reinforce that idea a little bit more, and we can keep those things from passing through to where there has to be a consequence for it. What were your thoughts on that?
So I agree with what you just said. As leaders in the organization, anytime you don't enforce a standard, you just reset another standard. your example, the earbuds. Anytime you see one of your riders with earbuds riding around and you don't say, "Hey, are you present?" That athlete just said, "Oh, new standard. I can ride with my earbuds in." And so that's absolutely right. I wanted to talk just a little bit about this is our new language in the league, and it's kind of interesting to see NICA started adopting this. Our mission is to build lifelong mountain bikers, and what we mean by that, Shawn, like you said, is full spectrum, all the core competencies of being a lifelong mountain biker, and we do that through programs fusion. We put racing and teen trail core and adventure, and we put all those things together to give our athletes an exposure to that and some competency in it. And I think I use my NICA training more outside NICA than I do inside NICA. And what I mean by that was, and there's some danger in holding me up as an example of anything, good anyway. But think about our ride that we did. We talked about me, you, Golden, and Kathy. We're done with NICA coach retreat. We just go on a ride together, and I'm more likely to go on a ride with friends than I am to race. Even though, guess what? Kathy and I are signed up for the enduro race at Rattlesnake in 2 weeks. Shawn, that's going to be well interesting. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, so yeah, still race, but going on a ride with friends, and were we prepared? Yeah, because we pulled up. I put my coach pack on, it's got the first aid kit, it's got the tools, it's got the snacks, like it's just everything's right there. Were we present? Yeah, we sure were. We stopped and looked at the water. We stopped and checked in with each other without even like calling out the coddle acronym. What were you doing as a ride leader? Like, hey, is everyone good? Are we all still here? We paused on that climb up, and then polite. Like I remember, like we stopped and you talked to that couple with their dogs and said, "Hey, look, there is a crazy pit bull, up the trail here that might kill your dogs. Just wanted you to know. Thank you very much." And they were polite. And so all three P's, and here we are, and I won't say how old we are, but that's we're lifelong mountain bikers. And we do a spectrum of all of those things. And that's what we're building into our athletes here in North Carolina. And it's great to see all that coming together. And then again, reinforcing that coach retreat just like you did, Shawn. I thought that was great.
Yeah. And then the last thing that we really did was we talked a lot about adventure planning, and we kind of put that into practice. We sort of set it up like we were planning an adventure ride, and then everyone went out and did their adventure ride. All of the trails were open. I there were varying degrees of quality from all the snow and everything. Like it was muddy. It was significant in some places. Like there was still snow on the ground and stuff like that. And I think it even in the adventure plan, like some of the groups, they came back and they had to abort. Like the plan that they had, like they saw that the conditions were not right, and so they went and did kind of second uh their second idea for a ride. And so I think that really was beneficial for everybody to see, like, plan A, plan B, plan C, but going out and doing a trail, talking about the different things you want to see on an adventure ride. Like you want to have points of interest, places to stop, areas to session, different choices, so that you can have challenge by choice. And we really talked about all of that structure for planning an adventure ride and then implementing an adventure ride. And I think it was really great for us to be at Camp Greer because there was so much choice in riding. Camp Greer was a fantastic host. It was a fantastic place to base a coach retreat. I think if you could have an ideal coach retreat location, like that was kind of it. Being able to stay there, lodging, and all those sorts of things. I think that was really great. And then just being able to go and do that and kind of in some mixed groups, and then come back and talk about it and debrief and really get the sense of what it means to have an adventure ride, I think was the highlight of the weekend. And it was the main focal point for what we were trying to get across. And I think we were able to do it, even though we had some issues with weather and dates and postponing and participation. It came together, and I think everybody that was there really benefited from it.
Yeah, and it's that cross-pollination that everyone likes about our league so much when we come together on the weekends and you see friends from across the state. My ride group was, let's see, Raleigh area, Charlotte area, Asheville area. and then me and Kathy from out east. That was a nice mixed ride group. And while we're on it, I do want to give a couple shout outs to folks for our coach retreat. Camp Greer for sure. Like I told everyone at Coach Retreat, they called me the week after Hurricane Helene and said, we can still host you the last week in October. That's amazing. We said, not the right time. Let's try and do it later. And we did it later. And thank you to them. I agree, Shawn, great location. Thanks to McDowell County, who invited us in and sponsored our coach retreat. That's fantastic. And just for everyone on this call, if you weren't able to make it to Old Fort, please consider Old Fort as an adventure ride destination. And we've got some materials as the league because we've been there. We have an EAP and all that. It's a great place to go ride, just like you said. And then quick sponsor shout outs. I'm wearing my Rudy Project hat. Thank you very much, Rudy Project, for giving our coaches some swag. We raffled off a nice helmet from them. I've got my Bora water bottle. Thank you, Bora, for sending some swag. And TC screen printing with the coach level up coach t-shirt. So thanks for our sponsors, and particularly Fidlock, who is our adventure sponsor for the league, and they offered a very nice NICA 30 discount on the Fidlock website. If anyone wants to take advantage of that, please do visit Fidlock and grab yourself one of those cool magnetic bottles.
Awesome. I think, going from coach retreat now, our minds turn towards the rest of the season, and now it starts to become real. As I like to say, like
Level
it's
up
gonna,
arcade theme, games on.
yeah,
Here we go.
yeah. We are getting ready to hit the big boss. So the event schedule, and we've had a lot of work put into the event schedule, and we've had to make a change yet again. But I think you really want to kind of talk about that and work through where we're at, what we've done to get here, and what it all means.
Yeah, I'll link it back to where you started, Shawn, with our league stats. Why are we static as a league? 8 to 900 every season seems to be we found our sweet spot. And one of the issues I know for sure is travel distance to our events. We're a big, long state. It takes a long time. It doesn't matter if you're on the west side of the state, the east side of the state, it's 4+ hours in most cases to get to our venues. And so for our Western teams, in the midst of just a crazy year for them, like for sure, with the hurricane, I delayed the release of the event schedule. We lost our most likely Western venue back in October with Helene, Catawba Meadows in Morganton. It was looking so good, but it went underwater. Can't go there. So we tried. We looked at a couple different places out west. We thought we had one, and shame on me for advertising that before we were absolutely sure that it was going to work for us. But when we sent the team of, I'll call them professionals, not all of our venue survey team members get paid to do what they do, but they are professional. They know exactly what they're looking for. They know exactly what the NICA standard is for our venues, and it wasn't going to work. And so I apologize for that for everyone but we were just trying to lean in. I understand the need this league has for a Western venue, and we will continue to pursue that need. But I'll just describe broadly the challenge with Western venues. For an event of our size league, we need space and we need a trail that meets the standards. And you can rarely find both in out west. In that one place we looked at in Ferguson, space, like all the space, beautiful space.
Like
But the
awesome,
trail,
awesome venue.
but the trail was going to hurt some people. And we didn't have the time to correct it, so to speak. So again, we are trying. We've got Catawba Meadows on the survey list for the summer, and we've got new trail in Polk County. Ed Sutton from Trail Dynamics, Greg Young is down there, new team, and they've got a great resource down there. It's a very nice trail. Those will be at the top of our list for the summer survey season to get a Western venue. And again, reducing that travel time. I understand it. It is. It's part of that. I hear it a lot from the head coaches, like, hey, just people aren't signing up because they can't devote an entire weekend and the cost to do it. So that's really the background with that. That said, because of the delay, we are playing catch up a little bit with all the preparation for all the existing venues in terms of locking on the services and even making the decisions of exactly what we'll do on those weekends. And I do have some work to do to clean up the website. I know all the events are listed, but the buttons, for the information don't work right because we don't have the updated information. So you'll see that populate over the next couple of weeks. My goal is 30 days out from that event. You'll have accurate information for that event, the map and the flyer and camping information. And let me speak just a little bit about that to everyone. We're ahead of the game in some sense. Brian Rabelais is our new camping coordinator for the league, and he's done a phenomenal job setting up all the camping for the venues. This past week, I released all of that to the home teams. So the home teams are listed on our website if you want to know who you are. But home teams, you get first shot at the camping for that venue. This coming week, I will release camping to the whole league for every venue, not the 30 days out like we did last season. So people can plan as best they can to get some lodging or camping at our venues. And we do have camping at all our venues. And that's fantastic. So thank you, Brian Rabelais, for setting that up. Again, one of the delays of the releasing the season schedule, we're working through. I'll mention specifically the schedule for Sunday. We have fifth graders this year. That's an additional category we need to kind of wedge into an already full day. And Jim Otto in particular is looking at some different schedules for us to try and shave some time on Sunday. That limits your ability to produce the volunteer list because you need to know what time people signed up. So we're a week or two away from the volunteer list going out and having kind of the idea of what Sunday looks like. But again, we will update that the best we can over the next several weeks.
And I know, we're looking at weather forecasts and all those sorts of things. And I know that you have contracted this year with a weather forecast organization so that we get our own sort of like accurate weather forecasts and we can make those predictions. And as part of that, we've built in multiple rain dates. So our goal is for the first time in the history of the NCICL to run 5 races in the series. Would you say that's fair?
That's quite the standard to set, Shawn. Thank you for throwing that out there. First time ever. Let's go for it. Let's do it. Let's level up this league and get 5 events in a season. But yeah, I think we've done the best we can to make us weather resilient for the spring from a couple perspectives. You're exactly right. Rain dates, 3 rain dates. And the idea, just to clarify for everyone, if we have to cancel a race, we're going to shift those registrations to that rain date. There's not going to be refunds for that event. We're just going to shift all the registrations over to that next event. So that's one way. We have worked, we're familiar with some venues. Most are fairly weather resilient. What I mean by that is the venue will allow us to still come even if there's rain. There's some exceptions to that still. Mayadan, it's mainly parking. Trail, we all know. We raced it last year in some wet weather, but yeah, field, they get concerned about that, the state parks. So sometimes we get overridden with, hey, we're going to go. Then it becomes a risk decision. And like I said, we have some proof that we can race in some foul weather, and we did a good job at Mayadan. The other thing too is a change to the event registration I'll mention here, and there's some more finer details to follow, but for each event, the Sunday prior, regular registration will close. And why do we do that? We need to know what our numbers are to do all that planning I talked about wave schedules and how we're going to fit everyone into the day and produce call up lists. But new this year, we will have a late registration period in pit zone. So the date will just be extended to Thursday at midnight and cost you $10 extra to do it. But if you want to wait for the weather call on Thursday, you can wait for the weather call on Thursday. If life happens, and it does, it did it, past 2 seasons, Shawn, like, I was out of town this weekend, forgot the registration, and I still want my kid to come. Okay, that's fine. You will have an opportunity to do that until Thursday this year. So I think we've done the best we can with building weather resiliency into the structure of the schedule and some of our processes to handle that resiliency. And yes, weather forecasts dedicated 6 days out through the weekend for our events. But as we mentioned, a coach retreat, and it's in the head coach, team director monthly email, AMB weather / NICA Facebook page, twice a week weather forecast available to teams right now. Look at your region in North Carolina. It gives you an idea if you got to, pay more attention for your practice or not, but that's all available to the league right now.
And we also have a rain date for the state championships. So really trying, last season we had the state championships and then ended up not being able to have it because of weather. So those two rain dates are for the 5 races in the regular season, and then one rain date is for the state championships. They are at the more weather resistant venues, so it might not be at the same venue as the race that you registered for, and that's simply because to hedge our bets and to ensure that we can pull it off going to those more, like you said, weather resilient locations, we feel like is our best shot at being able to have a second chance at holding an event if it gets canceled due to weather. With that kind of in mind, I also want you to highlight about the kind of all-in discount and how people can get that whenever they register for races.
Yep, still available like it was last season, and that discount will expire 23 February. So the end of registration for Salisbury, our first event, the discount package for signing up for all events is no longer available. But yeah, if you go into Pit Zone today now, sign your athlete up for all 6 events, you get a discount price by paying $35 for each event. And again, you just go in, you select all those events, and the discount is applied when you go to checkout on there. That's available till, yeah, again, 23 February. Then you just can't register for all the races at that point.
Yeah, and that way you're in. You committed to all those competition events. And at each competition event, we will be having, that full spectrum model in place. So there will be some form of adventure. There will be some form of teen trail core at most locations, as appropriate. So it will be something for each aspect of being a mountain biker, not just the competition focus as well. So yeah, I encourage everyone to take a look at that. As for some other important dates, season's registration, that's still open, but the race plates, that order is going in this week. So if you are registering for the season, you have not completed student athlete registration, then you're not going to be getting that personalized race plate. If you are doing a category petition after last Tuesday, then you won't be getting a custom plate in your new race category that you are petitioning into if you get moved there. So those are some things to consider, and that just brings us to first event. So we're switching it up this year. Instead of being way out east, we are central North Carolina with Salisbury. So trying to kind of split the difference and be somewhere that's a kind of equidistant from a lot of teams east and west. One of the hazards with that is that weather tends to be better earlier in the season, East North Carolina. So that's, we're taking a risk, but it made sense from the standpoint of making everyone travel all the way out to the east. For me, that was like a 5-hour drive. For teams farther west of me, it was even longer. It's 6. The Asheville teams are talking 6.5. So that's a big drive for the very first event of the season. So I think that was really good to try it and have it in Salisbury. So
Yep,
that
that's exactly why we're doing it, Shawn. I got that feedback consistently for the past 2 seasons. Hey, first event being way out east is hard for a lot of teams. So I think we'll see increased participation. I would like to think so for Salisbury for our first one.
some days to consider for that Salisbury, though, if you are just now thinking about category placement petitions, the last day to put those in for them to be considered ahead of the Salisbury race is February 21st. The last day for regular registration for Salisbury is going to be February 23rd. And then the last day for late registration is going to be Thursday, February 27th. So keep those dates in mind as we go forward, because that is coming up just next month. It's kind of crazy. We're like 5 weekends away from the first race. It's kind of
Yep.
nuts.
Like I said, I'm about a week out from updating Salisbury on the website, map and flyer and camping information, volunteer and all that. It's about to happen. So here we go.
So, so we have a month, and then it's like, then it's on, and then it's a whirlwind of 2.5 months of travel and all the craziness that is the NICA season for competition.
Yep. It's a little bit like Groundhog Day once you're in the midst of it, you know. Do it weekend, rinse, repeat. Do it weekend, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. But we still will. Just to mention that, maybe we close on that. Is just it will look similar to last season. We did some different things last season. Programs fusion, more opportunities at the weekend, adventure passports. You know, those type of things. It'll be fairly familiar to folks that were here with us last season because we wanted to bake in another season, so to speak. But in advance of each event, flyer will be out. Town hall Wednesday prior. You know, we'll talk everyone through, particularly for the new folks that leave. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. We'll get you there. We'll paint that picture of what to expect. And those that have done it before know it's pretty awesome on the weekend. Pretty awesome. Looking forward to it for sure. Seeing everyone
Yeah,
there.
you'll have a chance to get all of your questions answered ahead of each race. So, all right, that that brings us to the point now where we know that we have Bill and Elise. Hello,
At
and
least,
then
yes.
one other person, I'm sure, is still listening.
In Greenland or wherever you said that person.
It
No, Washington State,
was
Idaho,
Washington
one of
State
those.
for a
Way.
while. I'm not sure where it's at
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wherever the server is. So you reach the point to where we have our dad jokes, and I don't know if you want to lead off or you want me to.
Yeah, I've got like a couple winter weather related. You know, the first one, what's a weatherman's favorite food in winter?
Oh, I don't know.
Burritos.
Well, mine is a little more spring focused.
Okay.
What do you call a beehive with no exit?
Uh, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness. All right.
All right.
So Bill, Elise, and our third listener at this point in the podcast, please spread the word. Um, you know, tune in
Be
for the
sure
next
to
one.
like and subscribe.
Share. Yeah. Share. Yeah. Post on your social media feeds, all that type of stuff.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, we'll see you out there.
We will see you soon.